traffic of drugs, traffic of people, traffic of animals, traffic of plants, traffic of influences, traffic of objects, traffic of máquinas, machine, minerals, alles dabei, alles in contrabando, against a band, which band? In a place full of bands, we are all on the same side, in constant traffic, in contraband. Traffic of drugs, traffic of people, traffic of animals, traffic of people, traffic of animals. Traffic of people, traffic of drugs, traffic of plants, traffic of influences, objects, machines, minerals, alles in contraband. Eventsseries, 2 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 Events machines,
Objects consist object.
Of the tropical started, and of the tropical machines started when I arrived for the first months here in Germany, and it arrived. The idea of the tropical arrived in my mind because of a very simple circumstance, and is that I was missing the sun. And I was missing the sun, and with the sun, I was missing also my family, my land, my friends. So I started thinking about how to send messages towards the sun, and the Sunseeker appears as an artifact. It's very enigmatic. I remember this word Dennis Paul said to me, this word that I never will forget. And this object is for me very enigmatic. Before I was doing music with fruits, colorful projects. Sorry, I will adjust as yeah, better. So before I was doing music with fruits, but the Sunseeker, it's a very dark and enigmatic object. And what it does is that it records messages, and it encrypts the messages, and it sends the messages as melodies towards the sun. I will show you a bit how was the she was a friend, she was recording a message, and later this message was sounding something like this. This was more or less the sound of this device. And today, for being since it's a very special night, I kind of upgraded the whole Sunseeker, and I guess today it was the whole the main character of the night, the Sunseeker version 0.2. So after all this nostalgia regarding my land and my and the sun, I started getting very interested in the term tropical. And the tropical, I will read it. So I will read something for you. It says, according to the system of geographical references, tropical is everything that is located inside the tropics, a virtual construction of mapping split in half the equator line, right in the middle of the so-called north and what is understood as south. It is thanks to the sun that the tropics exist. When the June or summer solstice and the December or winter solstice occur, projections of the most direct and powerful solar rays drawn over Earth's surface delimitate the tropical area, a fringe of planet Earth located between its parallels, a zone demarcated by two invisible lines. I will show you. So these are the most direct solar rays. This is the representation of the most direct solar rays. And this is the tropics. This is the line, the warm belt that they draw. The Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere and the Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere. Lines that, because of the sun heat, construct an imaginary warm belt which holds the tension between the global south and the global north. This I wrote it because while studying the whole term of tropical, I understood it also as a line that was part of this division, that was in the middle of this division between the global north and the global south. And of course it is related with it says, I wrote this. However, the tropical not only alludes to geographical location, climatic characteristics, beaches, rainforests, biodiversity, colorful plants and birds. Beyond its comprehension as an exoticized and overexploited territory, it becomes then in a scenario where two forces discuss, dialogue, meet, entangle, and try to coexist. So I was reflecting how looking at the tropics from the north was feeling, and I was studying also all these differences, and basically I finally understood that the tropics, the north, whoa, sorry. Yeah, like if you turn the whole map is the same. The north and the south are just inventions. The sun doesn't differentiate between the north and the south. And then I started also I started looking on internet for representations of the sun in the different cultures of the countries that belong to the tropics. And these are some nice pictures. I just got this as a graphic inspiration because I wanted to build tropical machines. So I got inspired for these, and I started finding also like a lot of connection with the indigenous practices. This is one that was very kind of interesting for me, which was the Feast of the Sun, Inti Raymi. And then I continue analyzing the tropical technologies, and that was thanks to a class that we had with Ralph called Super Deep Media. We went deep into the kind of archaic technologies, and I took the path of the tropical technologies, and the first kind of main device that I found was these drums. Those are Witoto drums that are meant for communication. So they play these drums and they send messages from one town to another. And there I started thinking that I wanted to build drums as means of communication. And I continued, and since I guess that since my background is musical, I started finding more connection between the technologies and understanding instruments as technologies, and also getting very interested for the technologies of the for slavery. This is crazy. They are cane mills, but this is using slaves. Yeah, I liked a lot these wood wood, the material, the wood as material, and also coming back to the use of these instruments in rituals. And I started also picking some pictures on internet, remembering also the instruments that I was looking in, as those are like handcrafts that you can find in handcraft markets in our countries, I would say. These are more instruments from the and I found that it's very difficult to find other tropical technologies than these ones. Yeah, and I found also that there was a lot of connection with the indigenous and the technology that indigenous were using. So I was asking my father about our roots, because I was not so connected with our ancestors. And my father sent me a very nice message that says, "Your grandfather Alfaro López de Mesa was from Don Matías, Antioquia. His parents were gold miners in Segovia. Those people were racist, and the truth, they did not mix, just with white people. The last name comes from Burgos, Spain." So my last name, López de Mesa, comes from Burgos, Spain. "From the side of your mom, there are indigenous from side and side. Your grandmother, Doña Ligia, is from Onda. Although she was white, I saw in her some signs of like from Chinchas, those that inhabited all the area of Guaduas until the river. Your grandfather, Eduardo, was from Sumapaz, limit from Icononso, Tolima, also land of indigenous. There were los Cuyabros, los Tolimas, and some Muiscas of named Guanés. That means, mijito or su merced," he said, "that a lot of indigenous blood runs in your veins." So I got surprised because I never studied this, and it's very impressive how just like for the fact of being far here, I was kind of researching all these processes of my heritage, and I decided to come back to Colombia to, in very simple words, to find connections and roots of my indigenous heritage. And I went very happy with this nice mood board, because I wanted to go there and then find technologies, and then I wanted to come here. I will tell you more later. And I also had some drawings of what I wanted to, what I was imagining, machines that were sending signals to the sun. The sun was in my head a lot. And then we went to, thanks to the story of my father, I will read this to you. Don Toño was the most famous traditional musician in town. My father helped me getting in contact with an anthropologist friend expert of the indigenous culture from La Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. Julio, the anthropologist, told us that because Don Toño was an elderly musician, he knew everything about the cosmogonies of Cancuamos, and that was exactly what I wanted to learn. After some calls and talks, Don Toño offered to host me and my father, and my father let us spend 5 days with him. We cooked together. I will continue. So this was part of the town. This was his home. I'm sure this was instead of his So he was showing me music and part of his culture. And then he was also building part of his home. I will continue reading. We cooked together, we walked through the mountain and the forest. I helped him to build an extension of his house, and always at night he started telling us about his stories and culture. He told us how the Catholics built a church over the Cancuamos cemetery, and how with this kind of violence all the traditions were forced to disappear. He said he survived the Colombian armed conflict because of being a musician. He told us how the new generations are not anymore interested in their mythologies, and their ancestral conceptions of Earth are being left in oblivion. We played music together, and one night, after a couple of fermented drinks, he started telling me that his drum was made for calling spirits. His flute imitated the birds, chants, and together with maracas, the whole sound was meant to penetrate the forest to establish communication with nature. Here I was helping him. I recorded this video. Helping him to build his house. And then this was very strange, because since all the new generations were not very interested in the traditional music, he wanted to teach them in kind of traditional universal notation. So he was asking me to translate the notes of his flute into notation like C, D, G, F, and I did it. I did it. And then he showed me his drum. And after he was telling me all these stories of how this instrument, I was thinking this drum is exactly what I need for my project in digital media. and I wanted to buy his drum. So I could not sleep that night thinking about what to do, also because there were some wild rats running around, but definitely I wanted his drum. I wanted his instruments. I wanted to bring them to Germany for my experimental machines. And the next day I asked him, "Don Tonio, could you please sell me your drum?" And he said, yes. I asked him how much. We negotiated a bit, but at some point he preferred to send me to the drum maker. Here I am with the drum. And this is the drum maker of the town. He was songwriter, expert in healing with plants, and a bit arrogant with his knowledge. Because of course, because how can he share it to me? Who was making 100? He at that time he was making 100 of drums for the school, and he told me he could make one for me, but very expensive, by the way, but in 2 months, and my trip there was just for 1 week. So this was how the drums were looking in the Antonio's house, and my partner Daniela, who was observing the whole process, just said, "Let's go." And I came back to Antonio's house, and while I was staring at the drums, Daniela looked at me and she said, "You shouldn't get this drum. It's not yours." And I understood immediately, and I felt terrible. So we took some pictures after finishing the trip. This is Antonio and his nephew, Danielita, Antonio, me. And this is the beautiful town in the middle of the mountains. After that, we went to have a very nice touristic trip in that area. Coming down from a river, looking at beautiful animals, very relaxing. And there was something really touching for me, some sound, beautiful sound, that is this one, this one. Apparently it was kind of an insect, that it was sounding more like maracas. And there, because when I was young I learned how to play maracas very nicely, and then I thought definitely my machines have to have like this sound. So I was trying to reproduce this sound with the machines. And then, so after deciding not to get Antonio's drum, I thought that I had to build my own drums. And then I went to Bogota, and in Bogota we met. Also, my mom sent me to a guy that was making drums, and he taught me how to make drums. This is how to make tight the skin. We were singing a bit. I was playing the maracas while recording. And after that I went to a very nice guy that I was looking on Instagram. He was a friend of a friend, and he is carpenter, but he always posts really nice approaches in terms of the use of wood, and he was teaching me how the difference between the soft and hard wood, and how, for example, this hardwood makes like a pitch higher, and this which is softwood, it makes like a lower pitch. And also he was teaching me how like wood is a gift that we have from the trees, and wood is meant to be the last step of a tree. That is, so the tree is kind of when it's dead, giving us the wood to make our tools. And something really nice that he told me was that first touch the wood, and then you notice that the wood, like the tight wood is cold, and the soft wood is warm. And it's crazy how you can feel these differences. And also he was talking about the universes that you can see in the layers of the wood. So that was very inspired, and I had like another perspective of the use of wood. And he told me, and he said, I'm gonna give you he showed me this nice book, which is how to draw a tree, in order to kind of looking at trees from another perspective. He was teaching me some techniques to build the drums also, and also other thing. He gave me wood. So, because he said we are in a point of the life in which we shouldn't we shouldn't cut trees, so it's better to recycle wood. So I'm gonna give you this wood, and I strongly recommend, if you are gonna use wood for your machines, use recycled wood. And then we went also with Daniela, because Daniela is an expert in leather. She's a leather expert. She helped me to find really nice skins for the drums. So I went to the whole industry of drums making drums in Bogota. This is how the skins are made. But who sent me also was the guy who taught me out how to make drums. And I also went to the supermarket, traditional supermarket, to get some fruits, and I got there this nice Obst, that the Früchte. Yeah. And I came super happy with all my materials to make the woods. And immediately when I arrived to Bremen, I draw this. So this is the first sketch of the whole performance and all the machines. I think it's pretty much something similar. And I start building here. So I always say one thing, that is that the machines were made of Deutsch. So after having all this process, all this trip, I came here and I started building all these instruments of Deutsch, talking with Carl, talking with Nico, his assistant, talking with Yuka, talking with Marcus, printing. So I was reflecting a lot what could be missed in the whole translation process. Here I'm building the machines. This is the wood workshop. Techniques, electronics. So I was sorry, but I was processing the skin of animals in the digital media studio. Yeah. And this whole process, I was talking with Pablo and with Victor, and they were saying, Icaro, you don't notice that you are kind of replicating colonial practices? Silvia Rivera mentions this in a very nice way, which is, we give them raw materials and they give us back finished products. So she's talking about how tropical countries, or countries from the global south, give or the countries from the north exploit materials from the tropical countries, and with those materials they build technology, and that was kind of what I did. So that started being very problematic for me in terms of I wanted to be I wanted to kind of in some way decolonize technology and decolonize machines, because when I was in Colombia, all the machines that I was looking were from other countries, most of the times from countries from the first world, the global north, and I wanted to build machines in a different way, but still what I did was going from materials to my country and then bring them here, and in the end the technology is built here. So there is a nice quote that Silvia Rivera mentions. That is, she talks about the notion of cheje. It's written chihi, but she says cheje, which is where mixed words coexist. And for me, that was very kind of, it helped me to think, this theory helped me to think how, and also to help me to recognize myself as a colonizer and colonized. And she said, the notion of cheje expresses the parallel coexistence of multiple cultural differences that do not extinguish but antagonize and complement each other. Each one reproduces itself from the depths of the past and relates to other in contagious manner. So I was feeling how this tension inside my whole behavior coexists, this tension between wanting to decolonize technology, but at the same time it's very difficult, or it was very difficult for me in the end. Then, like, where the things come from, where the materials come from in these machines is very important for me, and how in terms of the electronics, how everything is produced in Asia. So in the end, these machines for me embody this process of how the bodies and the materials travel. Sueli Rolnik also in her book Zombie Anthropophagy mentions a really nice quote, a really nice concept, that is the concept of the paradox of the sensible. The paradox of the sensible is kind of, I understand it as this idea of kind of, in order to experience the world, I will read something, yeah. To know the world as form appeals to perception, which is realized through the extensive or objectifying exercise of sensibility. On the other hand, to know the world as force appeals to sensation, which is realized through the insensitive or vibratile exercise of sensibility. The latter is generated in the encounter between the body as field of forces, constituted by the nervous energies that run through it, and the forces of the world that affect it. Yeah, this phrase, the body as a field of forces, is what I would like to explore more in this performance of Nene del Solar. I think that the whole, we were talking with Ralph once, and the whole project is the performance is a growing piece. So most probably this is the beginning of something that I haven't even visualized. But what I know is that most probably I would like to explore this tropical paradox, being in between of these tropical machines, and maybe also with the most probably with other instruments and with the Sunseeker, continue sending letters to the sun. That's all. So if you want, you can ask me whatever you want.